Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Today I'm heading out into space to look for some Thargoid Scouts, the Marauder variant, the only ones we so far know about. Now the Scouts first made their appearance during the recent beta, so most of you will have probably seen them by now, although many of you may not have actively engaged with them. Now they're much smaller than the Thargoid Interceptors, that's the Cyclops variants, and the others, and the Scouts themselves are far weaker, meaning that you should be able to fight them with much smaller ships. That said though, they can make up for their weakness with numbers, and that can sometimes be a problem. At any rate, I was here at the mission board trying to find some Thargoid massacre missions, but apparently they don't seem to exist. Now I might be looking for them in completely the wrong place, or maybe they only appear near damaged stations, but I'm not the only person asking about them. It does appear then that they're not currently in the game. Interestingly enough though, there is now a community goal, and this went live after I created the video, so I've had to add this in as an edit after I actually recorded everything. But nonetheless, you can come out here to Socho and pick up a mission to attack Thargoid Scouts, and this is both for hunting them down in order to kill them. You can hand in the combat bonds, and there's also another one where you can collect Thargoid materials from the Scouts after you've killed them and hand those in. So aside from the CG, I have absolutely no idea what these could possibly be used for. As far as I'm aware, they're not currently used for anything, so I say fortunately you can get these, but just maybe they're not actually worth anything after all. At any rate, out here in Huvang D, you're bound to find non-human signal sources class 4, the threat level 4, and that's where you'll find the Thargoid Scouts, right here in this rather gorgeous ammonia looking world. Ammonia worlds, of course, are thought to be homeworlds for the Thargoids themselves. Now I do want to be clear right up front that this isn't a tutorial video on how to defeat the Thargoid Scouts. You'll see me doing so, and it's actually very easy. But if you want an ideal ship setup for doing that, as well as tactics on how to defeat them, then I highly recommend YouTuber Gluttony Fang. He has some exceptional videos there on how to fight Thargoids of all types, and again, I'll link that in the video description. For me then, this video is instead just documenting how the whole process went for me. I thought it a good idea to come out here in the Chieftain. It's not fully engineered yet, but it's getting there. Many of the modules are actually stripped off my Federal gunship. Now one thing I really like about these new signal sources is that you never know exactly what you're going to get. Here you can see wreckage flying about, and there's also some other NPC human ships here as well, and they will actively engage with the Scouts, which does tend to make things a little bit easier if you're a lousy combat pilot like myself. Now you will notice I'm using the Xeno scanner here, and that is by no means essential when you're fighting the Thargoid Scouts. You can just come in here and fight them, but without scanning them you won't know what their hull level is at, so again, it's not essential, but it does let you know how close you are to defeating them. Now for the most part, if you've only got one Scout attacking you like I have here, you shouldn't really have much of a problem. The shields I've got are more than adequate of holding up, and the problems only really start when you have multiple Thargoids shooting at you at the same time. There are also other variant of signal sources out there. Some of the threat level 5s you'll find interceptors as well as Scouts, and there's even a signal source threat level 8 which will have a Medusa in addition to the Scouts. So one thing that continued to be a bit of a problem out here for me was the caustic missiles. Now they don't destroy your ship, at least not instantly, but they will leave your ship covered in gunk, which in turn will erode your hull. Now there's a couple of ways of getting rid of that, as I've mentioned before in other videos. One is to just overheat your ship, which I did early on, and the other option is to use the new decontamination units. But unfortunately you can't use the decontamination units whilst in combat. And that means that if you do have caustic damage, you'll slowly take increased damage until you're actually in a position where you can get rid of it. And don't forget that caustic damage will wear off over time on its own, but if you get hit multiple times, then you could be in trouble. So the Thargoid Scouts themselves pay out a very low reward at just 10,000 credits per Scout. And considering that their damage does seep through to your hull, and considering that you may well get some caustic damage, it's likely your repair costs are going to be higher than just what you're going to get from a few Scouts. So with that in mind, I went to the next system over in order to get some repair limpets. So en route, I did get interdicted by a very weak Viper, killed him without a sweat, and earned nearly 40,000 credits. So again, not many credits, but it does serve as a good comparison when compared to what you get from a Scout. So like I said, the Scouts for the most part are very easy, but it is possible to make some stupid mistakes like I did here, and that was overheat my ship far too fast in order to get rid of the caustic damage. It actually hit well over 500%, in fact nearly close to 600%, and by the time I started getting it to cool down, my ship was almost completely destroyed. So completely my own mistake, but it did completely end any notion of making a profit out here. And that really does bring me on to another point. There is a risk fighting the Thargoids regardless of whether they're easy or not, and your rebuy cost is going to massively outweigh any money you could make off of these. That said, do remember there's no Thargoid missions in the game at the moment, so just maybe with them being present, the story would be quite different. Although, of course, that would depend on whether the missions actually pay out a decent amount. Now, I did drop into a threat level 5 signal source a few times, and there was no interceptors there, but they were absolutely stacked with loads of Thargoid Scouts, making those areas a fair bit more difficult than the threat level 4s. So the good thing is that the Thargoid Scouts now shake up the whole Thargoid combat a little bit, making it so that you can come out here in a regular ship. And you should also be able to get involved even if you're not that good when it comes to combat. And again, if you do need tips on how to engage with Thargoid combat, then do check out Gluttony Fang's YouTube channel. You're certainly not going to need a top spec ship that's fully engineered, but you will need an average ship with reasonable engineering levels. And of course, don't come out here expecting too much profit, at least not for the moment. As you can see here, I spent some time killing 6 Thargoid Scouts, and that compared very poorly to just the single pirate that I killed en route incidentally. All in all though, the Thargoid Scouts are certainly a lot of fun, and they're well worth coming out here to check out. And don't forget that for this week at least, you can hand in the combat bonds and the various pieces you collect at the local community goal. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.